All right. Good morning, guys. Good morning, morning. Happy it's Monday, right? Hope it's Monday anyway. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Goode. Welcome to the blog today, where for once it's nice to not have to worry about talking about severe weather and showers and storms, but we still have other issues, of course, with the heat. But this is a little more of an issue that you can track, and it's not as immediate of a concern, but certainly one that can take a toll on you guys. So we're going to cover all the latest in the heat alerts. The pattern is showing signs already of wanting to change within range of the 10-day. That's good. In fact, we really don't have to wait too long to see that happen. So at least this heat wave, while it will be intense and it will last pretty much every day that you are working this week, there is at least some hope that we'll get some cooler weather in here by the time you get into the upcoming weekend. All right, more on that here in just a second. As always, you guys have been seeing some of your comments fly already on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. So make sure to reach out if you have any questions, but hopefully you don't. Hopefully I've got it all covered. But before we get into anything on the heat side, I want to cover this mess out into the central Atlantic. What a mess, right? I mean, we've talked a lot about, the impacts that Hillary has had on the western part of the United States and its cyclone, which I'll show you in a second. But the Atlantic, as soon as that dust went away, the shear relaxed. Now we've got several systems out there, 3 named ones. At the moment, we're flying through this list pretty fast. Here's where we stand, though, on the tropics. As of this morning, there will be updates, likely by the time I head into the midday show. This latest tropical wave near the Cape Verde Islands coming in at about a 70% chance of developing as we head throughout this week. And it's a pretty healthy-looking wave. It will encounter a little bit of shear in the short term, but it may have a better opportunity if it can stay a little lower in latitude. Meanwhile, once Emily is already seeing the impacts of getting that push to the north, getting the higher latitudes automatically is going to be just not a good zone for it. So it's already beginning to weaken here soon. Will become a tropical depression and then eventually just fade away. But to the left of Emily, or to the west of Emily, we have Gert. Gert has a very short lifespan, only because of the amount of shear is pretty strong. You can even tell that by looking at the satellite, that it's getting just kind of ripped apart here. So Gert is only going to live probably another 24 hours or so, and then it will fade off the map. The most impressive one is actually Franklin. And Franklin actually will impact more of the land area, heading to the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico area. Certainly Puerto Rico will get a lot of heavy rain on the eastern side of it, but Haiti and into Dominican Republic, there will be pretty much a landfall of the tropical system. Now, it is forecast to become a hurricane after its landfall, but at that point, it may become a little closer to Bermuda. But it's certainly much larger system that stands out with that pink right now, right? Showing up across the eastern side there of the Allen chain. And then we have into the Gulf of Mexico, which will likely become a depression, perhaps a storm, but it's got a short window to work with. Hopefully gives areas of Texas some beneficial rain that need it, and just clouds, period, to get them out of the drought and out of the intense heat that we're facing this week. But they have had it now since, well, Derby Day. So they are looking forward to some clouds coming their way. But still very, very active across the Atlantic, which is not really too big of a shocker given what the data was starting to show last week. Today, it's kind of a hazy sky here locally in the wave country. These hazy clouds in the area kind of drifting through the mid to upper deck of the atmosphere. Not going to last very long, but they are drifting in from the northeast, heading backwards. So they may block the sun, slow the thermometer down maybe a degree or two, and that's really about the only thing you will notice today. Otherwise, it's kind of that hazy look, typical summer pattern, but very quiet. No rain expected for this week. It's going to be dry every single day. Air quality will be an issue. Air quality alerts are already out. You got a feeling those get extended almost on a daily basis. Here's the leftovers, by the way, of Hillary, much more broader of a circulation. Now it's just becoming, in some cases, it becomes more dangerous in this phase, not so much when it was actually a centered storm. With it becoming more broad, these flows of rain that moving through the Rockies do tend to linger longer, and they can actually provide for heavy rainfall in some of the mountain and canyons. Radar is not able to see everything out here because of the terrain, so you're only able to see just where the radar is able to capture some of the higher cloud tops as they move on by. But certainly they need the rainfall. They just don't want it too fast, too much, because they don't have much in the way, like we do, of grass to hold on to the soil. So when you get heavy rain in a desert environment, there's no grass, the dirt just rolls down the hill, and you get mudslides or landslides, and you end up with more problems than you normally would think in a desert environment. But causes more problems there for flash flooding. But still, they need the rain, so hopefully no one's going to complain too much about that. And it's just kind of a weird system in general, but that's 2023 so far. I feel like we said that a lot in 2020, but we're saying a lot in 2023 for weather anyway. You could certainly tell the broad area of this high pressure. Look how expansive it is as far as everything that's coming in from the Rockies has to go to Canada to get to the Carolinas, basically. I mean, talk about a U-turn. Even for Florida, anything that wants to get to Florida has got to make that turn all the way through Canada to come back around again. And in some cases, some systems will try to do that before we see the pattern change. But in the center of it, that's the heat dome that we've been talking about, the excessive heat warnings that are out in the fuchsia color, the heat advisories that are out. It's not so much that we're looking at a 1 day's heat index of 105, 106 that stands out. This is more about than anything the idea of getting exposed to this type of heat on a daily basis. That's where it takes a toll on average. 3 days is what we run into. Looks like they're adjusting one of the alerts there, but 3 days is about the average the human body can try to adjust and do okay if you stay hydrated. Even if you stay hydrated, though, even good athletes, you get beyond day 3 of being exposed to this. And I'm not saying staying in the AC all day. I mean, out in the element, you start to feel the effects of it and can get sick. So just take it easy outside. Hopefully everyone's kind of just adjusting their break schedules accordingly. And if you don't have to be out in the hottest part of the day, don't. And please do not take your dogs walking or your tortoises or anything like that. Don't take anything walking until we get into the cooler parts of the evening or early in the day in the morning hours, because the pavement is going to be running very, very hot, and it takes a toll on them. They are just as prone to heat exhaustion as we are. So please take care of our fur babies. And if they have to stay outside, A, make sure they have shade. B, not only do they have water that's in the shade, but if you're able to add ice cubes to that water multiple times through the day, keep it cold for them. All right. Hopefully they have a chance to spend some time inside with you. That'd be nice. I know that's not an option for everyone. As far as the records go, really today we get into the mid 90s range. Tomorrow, 1 degree or so up, and then we'll continue that trend of adding on a degree and a half, something like that every single day this week, especially as the ground dries out. The only time the records look to be more in jeopardy in Louisville anyway will be about Thursday or Friday, when we could either match or even break a record. It's possible. Otherwise, the heat index, which is not shown here, again, 105 to 106, looks to be about the average. If we start getting closer to 110, which right now looks to be unlikely, but if we get to that level, then that's a little more of an extreme setup on an individual daily basis. All right. But even with temperatures like this, adding on in a cumulative sense, it can take a toll on you. Now, when does it end? As I mentioned, it should be toward the weekend, which is good. It's not going to snow yet, but it will be cooler. And it'll feel a lot cooler once this heat dome shrinks and gets squished and then pushed down to the south. And we end up with more of a trough moving back into the area. If you look carefully, you can see those blue lines. Those are the rain snow lines. And it's typical rain snow lines. And this time of the year doesn't always match on par. The atmosphere is not perfectly stacked that way right now. But it certainly tells us it's much cooler into Canada, right? So that if we can get that flow to come back in, we will knock the heat down. This looks to be the boundary of the heat, and that front will be lingering in the area Friday and Saturday, and that could spark a few showers and storms. Problem is, when you're in a dry environment and you have a what we call a backdoor cold front that comes in at that angle, without a direct south flow feeding into it, you're really going to be limited on how much thunderstorm coverage you can get. So I don't think this is going to be a lot to get excited about, but it's the only chance of rain that we have. Once we get a little further into this pattern, maybe we can find ourselves in a little more of a rainier pattern that may start things off as we head into Labor Day weekend. That is possible, at least the first weekend of September in general. Or we may see a bit of a pattern change, but at least we don't see the heat holding on beyond Friday as of now. As of now, everything is showing a pretty good agreement, in fact, of it being knocked down, which is good. Then we can get ready for fall weather, maybe, who knows, September around here, even October, toss-up months sometimes in the autumn. But the pattern right now likes to repeat itself. So we are, as of today, roughly 30 days out from fall now. So it will be here before you know it. We'll see if this is the kicker to hopefully get us into that pattern and the heat doesn't come back. Worst thing, I think you can all agree on this. The worst thing you can get is a heat wave in October. That's like 90s, like we had in 2019. That was absolutely miserable, and it ruins the fall color. All right, guys, there we go. That's where we stand. Yep, Johnny, you're right. Everything is going to start getting crunchy by the time we get to the point of getting decent rain back in the area. So keep that in mind. If you want to keep your annuals going, you're going to have to do some watering. Otherwise, I usually surrender at some point. I'm like, okay, well, there's always next year. It's tough part about planting annuals every year. You get these little heat domes, and they're not too bad in June. You can kind of bring things back. But when they happen late in the summer, it's kind of like, is it worth it or not? Just plant some begonias and have at it. All right. Well, you guys look like you're good. I appreciate y'all comment today. It's going to be a little short blog today. I got some things I need to take care of, but at least want to touch base with y'all where we are on the heat side of things today. And let's see what happens with these tropics. As I mentioned before, they can be the catalyst in this. They can kind of change the pattern up more than what the models are indicating. I don't see a system strong enough right now that's getting into the mix that would do that. But it would be possible as we head into later this month into September. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So something to monitor. All right, guys, have a good one. Stay cool. Take care of each other. And I will see you guys on the flip side.